Hello friends, and welcome to Butterfly Meadows Home and Farm. Today we have a special treat. We are going to be making shrimp scampi. It's so easy. Let's get started. For this shrimp scampi recipe, you're going to need about 1.5 pounds of jumbo shrimp, and you want them to have the shell and the tail on. These that I have been deveined, which is nice. If they're not deveined, you will need to devein them as well. And we're just going to take the shells off, but we're going to put the shells aside in this bowl because we're going to be using those to make our shrimp stock here in a minute. If you have frozen shrimp that you need to thaw, what you do is you run them under cold water. Not warm water, but cold water. And peeling shrimp is not something I do very often, so I'm not very good at it. I'm sure there's a technique, but I don't know what that technique is, so I'm just gonna jump in here and peel them. My shrimp are still just a little frozen, but they will thaw while I'm doing the next step. You do need raw shrimp for this recipe. You don't want to get cooked shrimp. And how you know if shrimp is raw or cooked when you buy it, the cooked shrimp is a pinkish orange color, and the raw shrimp is this brownish gray color that you see here. And how you can tell if your shrimp is fresh, you know, it hasn't gotten old or anything, is it should smell like shrimp, but it should be a very light, pleasant smell. It shouldn't be an overpowering fishy smell. That's what happens to any kind of seafood when it's not fresh. It gets a very strong smell. Actually not hard to peel at all, especially since they've been deveined, so the shell's already been cut for me. Okay, so now we have our shrimp shelled, and we have our shells here. What we're going to do next is we're going to make our shrimp stock, and we're going to use these shells to do it. So let's jump in. Okay, our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to put our shrimp in a brine. And for this brine, we're going to want 4 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of salt, and I'm using pink Himalayan salt. And we're just going to mix up we're going to cover this, and we're going to place it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, and while that is marinating in the brine, we're going to make our shrimp stock. Okay, for our next step, we're going to make our shrimp sauce, and we have our pan on a hot eye, and we have 1 tablespoon of oil in the pan, and it's good and hot. And we're going to add to the pan our shrimp shells. And we're also going to add a little bit of thyme, just a sprinkle or 2. And these do not have to stay in long. And notice how they changed colors. And they turned to that pretty pink orange color. And see how they're starting to get kind of spotted looking? What we're trying to do is get the flavor out of these shells. So we're going to turn off our heat, and we're going to remove the shrimp shells. Now the chickens will have a nice snack on the shrimp shells. Okay, now for our next step, we're going to use this oil that we cooked our shrimp shells in, and we're going to make a shrimp stock. And what I have here is I have 1 cup of chicken broth. And to that, I'm going to add a splash of vinegar. Most recipes will call for a cup of white wine. Since I'm not using white wine, I'm using chicken broth, which works just fine, and the splash of vinegar will give it that little bit of acidity that the wine would have had. We're just going to let that get hot, and then we're going to set it aside. And here we have a pot of boiling water which has been well salted that we're going to cook our pasta in. And whenever you cook pasta, you want to use a lot of salt in the water, because you're not going to be eating the salt. It's just going to help to flavor the pasta as it cooks. And we're going to bring this back to a rolling boil. And we're going to let it cook for about 8 to 10 minutes. Our next step is to slice about 8 cloves of garlic. And I have garlic that I bought already peeled, which is so much easier. So we're just going to slice our garlic. If you don't want to slice your garlic, you can crush it. You know, just take a large knife and crush it. Or you can mince it, or you could use the minced garlic that you buy in a jar. Here we have our 10 cloves of garlic. Now we're going to drain our pasta. In the same pan that we made our shrimp stock in, we are going to cook our garlic. And I have 1 tablespoon of oil in the pan. I've turned the heat to high, and I'm going to add my sliced garlic. To this, I'm also going to add some red crushed pepper. You can add as much or as little as you want, depending on how spicy you want yours to be. We've added our chicken broth to our garlic cloves and red pepper and oil, and we're going to simmer this for about 5 minutes. Our shrimp have been soaking in the brine, have been marinating in the brine for about 15 minutes. We're going to remove them and place them on a plate lined with paper towels, and we're going to pat them dry. In this bowl we have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and we're going to add to that 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. Here we have 4 tablespoons of butter. Now we're going to add our lemon juice and cornstarch mixture to our sauce. And once that heats back up, and you can see it starting to simmer, we're going to add our shrimp, which we have patted dry. Now we are going to cover this pan, and we're going to let it simmer for only 5 minutes. We don't want to overcook our shrimp. And we're going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. Our shrimp is done, and this is ready to come out of the pan. Just look at that beautiful sauce. We're going to make a wonderful side dish to go with our shrimp scampi that we're going to serve over pasta. I have here a pan that I have lightly oiled, and I'm going to put in some frozen broccoli. You can use fresh broccoli if you want. And I'm going to do a double amount because I want to have leftovers. Just spread your broccoli out on your pan. Then I have here 4 more cloves of garlic. You can do sliced, minced, chopped, however you want. These are just kind of sliced. We're going to splash a little lemon juice over it. We're going to add some black pepper. Just a little salt. Then we're going to put an Assago Parmesan Romano mix. And we're going to place this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we will have a beautiful roasted broccoli and Parmesan cheese dish. So our roasted broccoli with garlic and Parmesan cheese is out of the oven, and we are ready to plate our meal. Here we have our shrimp scampi over pasta and a side of roasted Parmesan garlic broccoli. I'm so glad you stopped by Butterfly Meadows Home and Farm today. I hope you'll try this delicious meal for your family. I know they will love it and it'll be a favorite. God bless. Bye-bye.